Now it's time for sharpening, and the sharpening is just tremendous. They did a couple of things that are just amazing. Let me go find an image to open up. Put this one right here. All right, so before we get to the sharpening, let me just real quick fix the image. The white balance is okay. Let's brighten it up a bit. That looks good. And that's probably far enough right there. Don't need any recovery. Have a little fill light. Let's see what it does. Bring back a little detail for us. Actually, it's not bad, not bad. What I was concerned about was the background getting too bright, and it didn't at all, but it just did brighten her hair over here. I'm okay with that, but the whole thing looks a little too bright. There we go. Let's bring that down just a bit. All right, no necessary contrast, no clarity, a little clarity maybe, just a bit. Okay. Do we need any extra contrast? Let's try strong. I think it's going to be too strong. That doesn't look bad, really. Let's look at medium. Strong. I'm going with the strong. Okay, for this particular shot, with this particular lighting, I like it. Now, here's the sharpening one, the third one over. Now, here's the thing. Did you notice that there's sharpening applied to the image already? That's right. The amount's here, the radius is here, the detail's here, the masking is here. And the amount and the radius, by the way, are pretty much like Photoshop's. This controls the amount of sharpening. The radius is how far out, how many pixels out it's going to affect. And we're just going to leave this at 1.0. The sharpening amount is up to you. I'm anywhere between probably 50 and 100, somewhere in there usually. Believe it or not, for some reason it goes to 150. I have no idea why. But not seeing a whole lot of effect while I'm moving these things. Here's why. You need to be zoomed in to 100% or larger, and we'll do that in just a moment. But I want to talk to you about this. Did you notice that it's already applied to your photo? Every single photo, every raw photo already has this applied to it. So when we came to this panel, it's like, wait, my image is already being sharpened? Actually, you're going to sharpen twice with raw images. You're going to sharpen once here in Camera Raw, called capture sharpening, and then you're going to sharpen one more time. The major sharpening is done at the end. You're going to either sharpen for the web or you're going to sharpen for print, for making a print. So, but there's already sharpening applied here. This is the capture sharpening, and the default settings are very low key. But here's the thing: if you shoot in JPEG, your camera processes the image. Your camera applies color corrections. Your camera applies sharpening if it's a JPEG. But if it's raw, your photo comes into Photoshop raw. No color correction. No sharpening. It's all up to you. That's why Adobe has some sharpening already put there for you. So let's talk about the two sliders you've never heard about probably before, which are detail and masking. So the amount controls the amount. The radius you're going to leave at 1. The detail. You know in Photoshop how you work with the unsharp mask, and if you apply too much sharpening, you start to get little halos. Like it looks like someone traced around your edges and traced around the lips and the nostrils and all with a little fine pen. So we always try to avoid that. That's what the detail slider does for you. It is kind of the halo preventive slider, I've kind of heard it described as, or the halo limiter. All right, where it's set at 25, it avoids it quite a bit. The higher you go, the more, I don't want to say harsh the sharpening comes, but the more like regular unsharp mask it becomes. At 100%, it has no halo avoidance. It's just like the unsharp mask in Photoshop. But here in Camera Raw, the lower the number, the more it tries to avoid problems. The 25 setting is actually a pretty good setting. But if you really want to see the effects just for fun, double click on the magnifying glass so it does jump to 100%. Man, that's close. Let's go over here so we can kind of see what's going on a little bit. Hold the Option key on Mac or the Alt key on PC and click the detail, and it shows you, well, this is what's being sharpened. And watch how all these edge areas start to become much more pronounced when I drag the detail slider to the right. See, you can almost start to see the halos start to appear. Look right around. Look, when I go back to this, look right in here. You can almost see it's like someone took a little pencil and traced around there. But back here, it's very minor. And the default setting right here, you hardly see it at all. But here, it's very prevalent. So it's a good thing to kind of leave in place. Where I will increase this is when I'm shooting like landscape photography. I'm doing landscape photos. I'll drag that up higher, absolutely, without a doubt. Maybe up to 75, 65, 75 range for landscape photos, for architectural photos, and things like that. And that's very cool. But it's the next slider that rocks. Masking. This thing's incredible. So think about this. I'm about to sharpen a woman's face. So I want it to be soft. Well, sharpening is going to accentuate the texture of the skin, which we generally don't want. So a lot of times what we would do is we'd take this image over to Photoshop and we'd do all these tricks and mask off the areas of her skin. So the sharpening would just be applied mostly like to the edges of the glass and maybe to her nostrils and her lips and teeth, and not really to the rest of her skin, because you don't really want to accentuate that area, right? Believe it or not, this slider does it for you, and it is so cool. Unfortunately, you have to see it at 100% to see what it does. So I'm going to move over here so you see the little nostrils and stuff, so you can kind of see what's going on. So the areas I would want to avoid are just the regular skin. The areas I want sharpened are the edges, like of her lips, her teeth, nostrils, and the glasses. Hold the Option key on Mac or the Alt key on PC just so you can see what's going on. And click the masking button. Everything that is in white is being fully sharpened, right? Okay, so everything in white is being fully sharpened. As I drag to the right, anything that appears in black is not sharpened. So look what happens. The further I drag, the more of her skin is not sharpened. Only the white areas are sharpened. And if you drag way up here, look. What's being sharpened? Take a look. Mostly the edges of her glasses, the edges of her nostrils, the edges of her lips, and the edges of her teeth. Exactly what you'd want to be sharpened. So it like almost builds a mask for you. Come on, that's pretty slick. That is pretty cool. So that way you can get away with applying more sharpening without making her skin look overly sharpened. That's pretty cool, my friends. Okay, so that's how sharpening works. And my kind of default settings are, I will increase the amount. I think the sharpening is a little too low for my taste, 25. It is a very subtle amount. I probably go up to 50 and sometimes even higher depending on the photo. And what does that mean depending on the photo? If it's people, I keep it low. If it's architecture, if it's landscapes, I take it higher. Leave the radius. My radius always stays at 1. The detail amount, I leave it low for portraits and for children and for puppies and things that are of softer nature. If it's architectural, if it's a motorcycle, if it's a car, if it's buildings, whatever, I go up higher. And for landscape shots that you really want that detail off in the distance. And the masking I do on kind of a case-by-case basis. I take a look at the image and see at what point, something like that maybe. All right, noise reduction, it doesn't really work. I mean, it kind of works, but so bad that I don't use it. That's all I have to say. If you really want to get something great for getting rid of noise, I recommend a plugin called Noiseware Professional. It sells for around $69. It's downloadable. It's phenomenal. And this thing is it's better than it used to be, but not yet good. All right, that's a quick look at sharpening, and those are the main things we're going to do in Camera Raw. And from here out, in the next segment, we're going to move actually into Photoshop and pick up the case there.